If you think this is just another celebrity rumor, stop right here, because what you're about to hear could reshape the future of the NFL and the global pop culture landscape at the same time. Before we go any further, make sure you like, follow, and share right now, because the moment everyone is waiting for comes near the end, and most people won't see it coming. The retirement rumors surrounding Travis Kelce are no longer whispers behind closed locker room doors. They're getting louder, stronger, impossible to ignore. The name Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs legend, Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer, is no longer dominating headlines solely for what he does on the field, but for a question that now hangs heavily in the air. Is Travis Kelce preparing to walk away from the NFL? And if so, does it have anything to do with a future that's becoming increasingly serious with Taylor Swift? It started with subtle changes, the kind most casual fans wouldn't notice. His interviews feel different now, more reflective, more personal. He's talking about time, about wear and tear, about how the body keeps score no matter how great you are. For most players, those comments might sound routine. But for Travis Kelce, who is still performing at an elite level, those words landed differently. They felt premature, intentional, almost like preparation. Then came the moments that pushed curiosity into full-blown speculation. Kelce quietly scaled back certain off-field commitments. Endorsement appearances he would normally embrace were suddenly missing. At the same time, he was being spotted consistently at Taylor Swift's concerts. Not hidden, not low profile. Cameras caught the smiles, the glances, the comfort. And without saying a word, those images spoke volumes. This is where the narrative shifts, because the relationship between Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift has never been an ordinary celebrity romance. This is the collision of two massive worlds, the NFL and the global music industry. Every move is analyzed, every silence is dissected, and as Kelce appeared less visible in non-essential football spaces, while Swift subtly adjusted her own schedule, the question grew louder. Coincidence or coordination? Now pause here. Slow the tempo. Zoom in, because this is the part most people miss. According to sources close to the situation, Travis Kelce has begun having serious conversations about life after football. Not about another contract, not about chasing one more ring, but about what comes after the stadium lights dim. That alone sent shockwaves through league circles, because for players of Kelce's caliber, those conversations usually come at the very end, not while they're still dominating defenses on Sundays. And this is where Taylor Swift enters the story in a deeper way. Taylor is known for many things: vision, precision, long-term planning. Every era of her career is carefully mapped out years in advance. The people closest to her all agree on one thing: she doesn't build her life on impulse. So when this relationship began to show signs of real stability, insiders started to believe the discussions went far beyond tour dates and game schedules. They were about priorities, about geography, about what each person is willing to sacrifice and what they're no longer willing to lose. Ask yourself this: how long can an NFL career realistically coexist with a life that demands emotional presence, physical longevity, and long-term stability? How many more hits does a body take before the cost becomes irreversible? And how tempting is it to step away at the top, preserving both legacy and health, instead of waiting for the game to make that decision for you? Here's the teaser that keeps insiders watching closely. One phrase reportedly keeps coming up in Kelce's inner circle: he doesn't want to be broken when it's over. That sentence changes everything, because it's not about fear, it's about control. It's about choosing the ending instead of being forced into one. And when you place that mindset alongside a relationship that appears increasingly serious, the picture becomes impossible to ignore. Still, it's important to be clear. There has been no official announcement, no press conference, no retirement statement. What we're seeing is a pattern formed by timing, behavior, and quiet signals rather than headlines. But history tells us something important. The biggest retirements rarely arrive without warning. They arrive wrapped in reflection. Now imagine the payoff. Picture this scenario. Travis Kelce leaves the NFL on his own terms, still respected, still dominant, his legacy untouched. He steps into a new chapter: media, business, entertainment. Alongside Taylor Swift, forming one of the most influential power couples of the modern era. Not just a love story, but a cultural alliance bridging sports, music, and global influence. If that moment comes, it won't just mark the end of a career. It will mark the beginning of something even larger. Until that day arrives, one thing remains undeniable. These rumors didn't appear out of nowhere. There's too much smoke for there to be no fire. And with every week that passes without clarity, the question grows louder. Are we quietly witnessing the final chapter of Travis Kelce's NFL career? If you want to stay ahead of the story as it unfolds, make sure you subscribe, like, and share right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Travis Kelce will retire to build a future with Taylor Swift? Or is this just the calm before another dominant season? Stay locked in, because this story is far from over. And as the conversation grows louder, insiders across the league are paying attention to one critical detail that hasn't been discussed openly: timing. In the NFL, timing is everything. Contracts, cap space, roster planning, all of it revolves around certainty. And yet, Travis Kelce's future remains unusually open-ended. No long-term commitment, no firm declarations, just silence where clarity usually lives. That silence, to many executives and analysts, speaks volumes. Behind closed doors, league sources describe Kelce as someone who has already accomplished everything an athlete could realistically dream of. Multiple Super Bowl rings, records that may stand for decades, a reputation as one of the greatest tight ends the game has ever seen. At this stage, the question isn't, what does he still have to prove? It's, what does he still want? And that question, more than any stat line or highlight reel, is what fuels the retirement speculation. What adds another layer of intrigue is how visibly different Kelce's public energy has become. The fire is still there on game day, but off the field, there's a noticeable shift. He speaks more about balance, about enjoying moments, about life moving fast. These aren't the words of a man chasing immortality through football alone. They sound like the words of someone already standing at the edge of a transition. At the same time, Taylor Swift's presence in his life has quietly reshaped the narrative. This isn't just about romance. It's about exposure to an entirely different rhythm of living. Global travel, creative control, long-term planning that stretches years into the future, not weeks between games. Being close to someone who operates on that level inevitably forces reflection. It changes how you view time. It changes how you define success. Observers have also noted how seamlessly Kelce has stepped into the broader entertainment world. Podcasts, commercials, media appearances. He's comfortable there, natural, charismatic, self-aware. For many retired athletes, that transition is difficult. For Kelce, it looks effortless, almost rehearsed, almost intentional, as if he's already building the bridge before leaving the island. Midway through this unfolding story, here's the question that keeps resurfacing. What if the NFL chapter is already complete in his mind, even if it isn't officially closed on paper? Because retirement doesn't always begin with an announcement. Sometimes it begins with acceptance, with the realization that staying longer doesn't add to the legacy. It risks complicating it. Sources close to the situation describe Kelce as deeply protective of his future self. He's seen former stars struggle physically long after the applause fades. He's watched peers push one season too far, only to leave the game injured, diminished, or forgotten. That awareness weighs heavily, and when paired with a relationship that offers stability, perspective, and a life beyond weekly collisions, the calculus changes. This is where the tension peaks, because fans want more, teams want more. The league would happily build another season around his presence. But football, at its core, is unforgiving. It doesn't negotiate with sentiment. Every snap carries risk. And for someone who already has everything the game can give, the cost-benefit equation becomes brutally clear. Imagine the announcement if it comes. Not dramatic, not emotional, just controlled, confident. A statement that says, "I'm walking away on my terms." That kind of exit doesn't happen often. And when it does, it echoes far beyond the locker room. It reshapes conversations about longevity, priorities, and what winning truly means. Still, nothing is confirmed, and that uncertainty is what keeps the world watching. Every interview, every appearance, every absence, each one is dissected for meaning, because whether fans want to admit it or not, this feels different. It doesn't feel like a rumor chasing attention. It feels like a story slowly revealing itself. If Travis Kelce does choose retirement, history may remember this moment not as an ending, but as a pivot. The moment where a dominant athlete chose evolution over erosion, where legacy mattered more than accumulation, and where a relationship became not a distraction but a catalyst. Until then, the speculation will continue to build. The pressure will rise, and the question will remain unanswered, hovering between Sundays and stadium lights. Is Travis Kelce still chasing football glory, or is he already stepping into the next chapter of his life? Stay locked in, because when the answer finally comes, it won't just shake the NFL. It will redefine how we see the intersection of fame, love, and legacy in modern sports. And as the narrative continues to unfold, one undeniable truth sits at the center of it all. This moment feels heavier than a normal off-season storyline. Around the league, veterans quietly acknowledge it. Media insiders sense it. Even fans who refuse to believe it can feel the shift. This doesn't carry the energy of speculation built on nothing. It carries the weight of a crossroads. What makes this situation so compelling is that Travis Kelce isn't being pushed out by decline. There is no dramatic drop in production, no public feud, no obvious reason for urgency. And yet, that's exactly why the conversation feels real. The most powerful decisions are often made when no one is forcing your hand, when you still have options, when you still control the narrative. People close to Kelce describe him as more selective than ever with his time. Less reactive, more deliberate. He's choosing moments instead of chasing noise. That shift alone signals maturity, but also finality. Athletes nearing the end don't always slow down physically first. They slow down mentally. They begin detaching from the chaos. They start imagining mornings without pain, Sundays without pressure, years without recovery schedules. And again, Taylor Swift's role in this story cannot be separated from that mental shift. Not because she's influencing a football decision directly, but because she represents a different kind of longevity. A career built not on physical punishment, but on reinvention, on evolution, on choosing when to move forward instead of being dragged there. Being close to someone who has mastered that art changes how you view your own path. There's also the reality of scale. Taylor Swift's world operates on a global timeline, tours planned years in advance, commitments that span continents, a life where presence matters more than proximity. For someone tied to a rigid NFL schedule, training camps, game weeks, postseason uncertainty, that contrast is impossible to ignore. At some point, alignment becomes necessary. Something has to give. And then there's the human factor fans often overlook. Travis Kelce isn't just an athlete. He's a brother, a son, a man with interests beyond the game. The longer you play football, the more those other identities are postponed, deferred, put on hold. Retirement isn't always about stopping. It's about finally starting the rest of your life. The tension grows because the stakes are enormous. For Kansas City, for the league, for branding, ratings, narratives. Travis Kelce isn't replaceable. Not statistically, not culturally. His presence shapes games and storylines alike. Losing him would leave a vacuum that no single player could fill. That reality alone makes every rumor feel seismic. But here's the quiet truth. The NFL has always moved on. Legends leave. Jerseys retire. New names rise. What remains is legacy. And legacy is protected not by staying too long, but by leaving at the right moment. That's the lesson echoed by the greats who exited before the decline set in. And Kelce knows that history better than anyone. As weeks pass without clarity, each public appearance becomes symbolic. Each quote is scrutinized, each smile analyzed. And through it all, Kelce remains calm, unbothered, almost at peace. That calm may be the loudest signal of all, because indecision looks restless. This looks settled. If and when the announcement comes, it won't feel sudden in retrospect. It will feel inevitable. People will look back at these moments. The tone shifts, the absences, the focus on life beyond football, and realize the story was being told all along. Quietly, patiently. And if he stays, if he chooses one more run, that decision, too, will come with new boundaries. A clearer end date, a sharper awareness of cost. Because once the question has been asked this loudly, it never fully goes away. For now, the world waits. Fans debate, headlines speculate, and Travis Kelce stands at the center of it all, holding the rarest position in professional sports: the power to choose his ending. Whatever that choice is, it won't just define his career. It will define how this era of the NFL is remembered. And when history looks back, this moment right here will be seen as the pause before everything changed. And the longer this pause stretches on, the more the story evolves beyond a simple question of retirement and into something far more symbolic. Because Travis Kelce's situation reflects a larger shift happening across professional sports. A moment where elite athletes are reassessing what success actually means when the trophies are already secured. Inside league circles, there's an unspoken understanding that Kelce is no longer chasing validation. That hunger, the kind that drives young players to sacrifice everything for relevance, has already been satisfied. What replaces it is something quieter, but heavier: responsibility. Responsibility to his body, to his future, to the people around him, and yes, to the life he's building outside the game. That life, increasingly visible to the public, exists in contrast to the brutality of football. Stadiums are loud, careers are short, bodies break down quietly long after the cameras turn away. Meanwhile, the world Kelce now moves in, through media, entertainment, and his relationship with Taylor Swift, operates on longevity, narrative control, and reinvention. Those two worlds don't easily coexist forever. What fuels even more speculation is how carefully managed everything feels. There are no emotional outbursts, no dramatic denials, no attempts to shut the rumors down aggressively. Instead, there's restraint, measured responses, almost as if every word is chosen with an awareness of consequences. That's not the behavior of someone caught off guard by speculation. It's the behavior of someone who knows the conversation is justified, that there's also the financial reality, often ignored but impossible to dismiss. Travis Kelce is no longer dependent on football income. His brand extends far beyond the field. Endorsements, media ventures, long-term opportunities, all of them exist regardless of whether he takes another snap. When financial pressure disappears, clarity often follows. The decision becomes less about necessity and more about desire. Midway through all of this, fans are left grappling with an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most iconic careers don't end with a dramatic final play. Sometimes they fade into something else, something intentional. And that can be harder to accept than injury or decline, because it reminds us that even legends are human. They choose peace, they choose love, they choose life. Taylor Swift's influence in this narrative continues to spark debate, but insiders push back against the idea that this is about sacrifice. They frame it differently. They describe it as alignment. Two people at the peak of their respective worlds, attempting to build a future that doesn't require one of them to constantly compromise. In that context, retirement isn't an exit, it's an adjustment. The pressure, however, continues to mount. Kansas City fans want reassurance. Analysts want answers. The league wants certainty. But Kelce has earned something few players ever do: time. The freedom to wait, to decide without being rushed by noise. That freedom is both a privilege and a burden, because every day without clarity adds weight to the decision itself. As the offseason progresses, attention will sharpen, training camp will loom, rosters will solidify, and eventually, silence will no longer be an option. At that point, whatever choice Kelce makes will send ripples across the sport. A return signals unfinished business. A retirement signals a philosophical shift, one that prioritizes timing over tradition. Until then, this story remains suspended in tension. Not explosive, not chaotic, but steady, heavy, watching. And that's what makes it so compelling. Because deep down, everyone senses that this isn't about whether Travis Kelce can keep playing. It's about whether he wants to. And when the answer finally arrives, it won't just close a chapter. It will redefine how we talk about greatness, fulfillment, and the courage it takes to walk away, especially when you still stand on top. And as this waiting game continues, the silence around Travis Kelce's future has become its own headline. In a league where news is usually leaked, spun, or strategically timed, the absence of concrete information feels deliberate. Analysts point out that this is not how uncertainty normally looks in the NFL. This is controlled, contained, almost protected. Behind the scenes, conversations are believed to be ongoing, not just with team officials, but within Kelce's closest circle. Family matters, personal goals, long-term health. These are not the kinds of discussions that lead to impulsive decisions. They are the kind that take months, sometimes years, to fully settle. And that's why many believe the answer, whatever it is, may already exist, just not publicly. What complicates the story further is how divided the expectations are. Some insiders are convinced Kelce has one final push left in him, driven by loyalty, competitiveness, and the unique chemistry he shares with his quarterback and locker room. Others believe the emotional groundwork for an exit has already been laid. Both camps point to the same evidence and draw opposite conclusions. That ambiguity is what keeps this narrative alive. There's also a broader cultural context at play. In recent years, high-profile athletes across sports have begun redefining what retirement looks like. It's no longer framed as surrender, but as agency, as choice. Walking away before the game takes something you can't get back. Kelce, who has always been outspoken and self-aware, fits perfectly into that evolving mindset. Media executives are watching closely too. Travis Kelce is not just a football player, he's a personality, a storyteller, someone who translates easily across platforms. That versatility gives him leverage. It also gives him options. When an athlete reaches a point where their identity no longer depends on their uniform, the power dynamic shifts completely. Taylor Swift's world, again, looms quietly in the background, not as a distraction, but as a contrast. Her career demonstrates what it looks like to control your narrative at the highest level, to decide when an era ends and when another begins. That proximity to intentional transitions may be influencing how Kelce views his own moment. Not emotionally, but philosophically. As speculation intensifies, fans are forced to confront a reality they rarely consider while cheering from the stands. Athletes don't experience careers as highlight reels. They experience them as pain, pressure, repetition, and sacrifice. The decision to continue or stop is rarely about love for the game alone. It's about sustainability, about whether the cost still matches the reward. Every season played adds to the ledger. Hits absorbed, surgeries postponed, recovery time extended. Kelce has been remarkably durable, but durability doesn't mean immunity. And when you've already secured your place in history, the risk calculation changes dramatically. What's striking is how calm Kelce appears amid all of this. There's no visible anxiety, no urgency, no attempt to control the narrative aggressively. That composure suggests clarity, or at least acceptance. And in professional sports, acceptance often precedes closure. If this truly is the final chapter, it will be studied for years. Not just as a football decision, but as a case study in modern fame. In how relationships, personal branding, and long-term vision now intersect with athletic careers in ways they never did before. If it's not, and Kelce returns for another season, that return will carry new meaning. It will feel intentional, finite, a conscious extension rather than an endless grind. Either way, the innocence of what's next is already gone. The question has been asked and answered internally, even if the world hasn't heard it yet. For now, the story remains suspended, balanced between legacy and possibility. And until the moment Travis Kelce finally speaks, every silence will continue to echo louder than words. And with every passing day, that echo grows deeper, stretching beyond football discourse and into something more existential. Because what people are really watching right now isn't just a potential retirement. It's a man standing at the rare intersection of completion and possibility. Most athletes never get there. They're forced out by injury, by decline, by a phone call that never comes. Travis Kelce is standing there by choice. That's what makes this moment feel historic. Inside the Chiefs organization, there's an understanding that this situation must be handled delicately. Pressure would only backfire. Kelce has earned autonomy in a league that rarely grants it. Teammates reportedly sense it too. Not in any dramatic farewell speeches, but in subtler ways. Longer conversations, more intentional presence, a tone that feels reflective rather than relentless. Football players often talk about knowing when it's time. Not logically, not statistically, but internally. A quiet signal that the grind no longer defines you, that you've taken everything you need from the game and given it everything you reasonably could. Many believe Kelce is listening closely to that signal right now. Meanwhile, public fascination continues to blur the line between sports journalism and cultural analysis. This isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about lifestyle, about identity, about what happens when two global narratives, NFL dominance and pop superstardom, collide and begin to merge. The Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift storyline has accelerated that collision in a way few could have predicted. Critics argue the speculation is overblown, that elite competitors don't walk away while still capable of greatness. But history quietly disagrees. The rarest exits, the most respected ones, often come when the tank isn't empty yet, when the player leaves people wanting more. That's how myth is preserved. And myth matters. Legacy matters, especially to someone who understands media, storytelling, and perception as well as Kelce does. He knows how narratives are written. He knows how endings shape memory. And he knows that one season too many can rewrite everything that came before it. There's also the psychological toll few fans truly understand. Years of preparation, weeks of recovery, the constant edge required to stay dominant. That intensity doesn't simply turn off, but it does demand a price. When the joy begins to compete with the obligation, something shifts. That shift doesn't make headlines, but it changes lives. Those closest to Kelce describe him as fulfilled, not restless, proud, not desperate. That distinction matters. Fulfillment doesn't seek applause. It seeks alignment. And alignment, in this context, may mean redefining success beyond the boundaries of a football field. As the off-season clock keeps ticking, the external noise will only grow louder. Speculation will intensify. Opinions will harden. But ultimately, none of that will decide what happens next. The decision rests with one person and one person alone. And that's the quiet power of this moment. Because whether Travis Kelce returns for another season or chooses to step away, the meaning of this pause will remain the same. It represents a new era, one where athletes are no longer just performers in a system, but architects of their own timelines. Where walking away isn't weakness, but wisdom, so the world waits. Not impatiently, but intently. Because when the answer finally comes, it won't just resolve a rumor. It will close a chapter written in dominance, charisma, and cultural impact. And whatever opens next will be watched just as closely. Not because of what Travis Kelce did, but because of what he chose to do next.